Okay, so let's talk about today's activity or assignment. To prepare for the test, it's scheduled for Tuesday. This is your atmosphere test review. We're going to have 2 days of review, two different types of review. This is the first type. So, your goal today is to accomplish this task. So, how do you learn the best? What type of studying helps you succeed on a test? So go back to the previous test and did you get or did you perform as well as you had hoped? So there are two factors that could influence that: the amount of time you studied or the tool you used to study for the test. So let's take a look at the tool. Today, you're going to design an original tool to help you study for the upcoming test. You can go old school for this tool, like flashcards or writing on a piece of paper. You could go new school and use Google Docs or Google Slides or create a video or an audio. You could use a Kahoot, a Quizzes, a Quizlet, a Flipgrid. I mean, there's all kinds of tools out there. The idea is that it is an original tool. So that means you have to create the questions and the answers. The act of actually creating it, not copying and pasting, helps you remember and learn the material even more. So first you have to decide the type of tool you want to create. And then you're going to spend the class period creating that tool. So here are the concepts you need to know. You need to know more than just the definitions. So we've been talking about the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, the exosphere. So you need to know all about those. You need to understand and know what the tropopause is, the stratopause, the mesopause. You need to know the order of those layers, the 5 layers of the atmosphere. You need to know what is in each layer. How would you describe them? You need to know what happens to the temperature in each layer. The test has got words like altitude and density and pressure, so you need to know what those mean. If I were to ask you what is the most abundant or most prevalent or most common gas in the atmosphere, what would your answer be? We have talked in class, as you walk up a mountain, as you increase your altitude in the atmosphere, what happens to the temperature when you're in the stratosphere? If you walk up a mountain in the troposphere, what happens to the temperature? As you walk up a mountain in the troposphere, what happens to the pressure? What happens to the density? So those are all things you need to talk about and think about and know. So if you're making flashcards, maybe you're writing some flashcards. If you're creating a Kahoot or a Quizlet, you're creating some questions about that. While most of you are probably going to Google all this information, and that is fine, you need to understand that how Google frames the information and the words they use is going to be different probably than what you're going to see on the test. We did stations about all this information, so you could pull out your station information. You did a graphic organizer where you filled in the blanks. You could get out that. So those are some sources that you could use. So right now we've got 13 multiple choice, no, 15 multiple choice. We have 5 matching, and then we have 2 extended response questions, and I'm giving you these questions ahead of time. So if you take a look, these are exactly copied and pasted from the test, with the idea that you're forming these questions over the weekend and you're constructing these so that you have an idea of what you're going to do on the test. So the directions on the test says reword the question into the answer and use complete sentences when crafting your responses. So you've got to use complete sentences. You've got to restate the question. So question 1, give 3 examples of what the atmosphere does for the Earth. So your answer should say 3 examples of what the atmosphere does for the Earth are, and then you have to construct the rest. Number 2, list the 5 layers of the atmosphere in order. So your answer should say the 5 layers of the atmosphere in order are, and you can either go from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom. Spelling's gonna count because those names of those layers are sprinkled throughout the test. So if you don't know how to spell them, you should go back through the test and find how to spell them correctly. Okay? So today you're spending time creating your test review. If you don't get this test review done, the expectation is you do it over the weekend for homework. Okay? When we come back on Monday, I will have a different type of review. You may have some time then, but I cannot guarantee. So when you walk in the classroom, you should have this test review created. If you have any questions, please make sure you get in contact with me.